Okay, so I guess I'm finally ready to make this testimony. In the post I'm going to share, you'll read, and also if you don't read this post, this really won't make a whole lot of sense in itself, or maybe it will, but read the post. But I've talked a lot about weird spiritual practices and ideologies and all the deceptions I was lost in. And I was really, really lost. And I never, ever, it's never my intention to give Satan or sin any of the glory. And I initially was like, no, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about my sin in the past. But the more I thought about it, Paul didn't leave out the fact that he persecuted Christians and he murdered them. And that is what makes his testimony so powerful, what God did in his life even more powerful, because we understand the evil that was in his heart, the deception he was in. And so I'm just going to go all in, or most of the way in. There are things I am going to leave out because there are things that I am not ready to talk about. I may never be ready to talk about, and it's okay. That's my choice to leave that out. They're very sensitive topics, and I just have to do what I feel comfortable with. But so I've shared a lot about the spiritual side of things and the deception, but I haven't really touched on the main issue is sin. That is the issue, sin. But my main stronghold was drugs. Every drug. I had a few choice ones, but basically if you could crush it, snort it, shoot it, smoke it, I did it. And I don't mean I occasionally did this or even that I did it every day. When I say I did drugs and anything else I did was something I did, because me doing drugs were just that was my life. And as you can imagine, that doing drugs and everything that goes along with that there's a heavy price to pay on your body, your mental health, your family, your everything. It affected every area of my life, and it progressively got worse, as it always does. So that is a part of what led me to this testimony I'm about to share, but it's not the main reason. Oh, Lord, help me not get off track. I found myself in jail November of 2019, and not only was I in jail, the charges were so serious and so severe. Like, it was my understanding, like, I'm not coming home from this. I will not come out of jail for a very, very long time. My husband at the time also went to jail at the same time, and his situation was far worse than even mine was. This is what I'm not going to go into detail about, and I can't go into detail about it. And there's a lot of trauma and pain and grief. So I was in jail with no release in sight. To put things into perspective, I lost my husband, the car I was driving, the house I lived in, my freedom, my teeth, all pretty much my mind, all in one day. It was all gone in one moment, gone. So you can imagine, I don't know if you can imagine, but it was awful. I was in jail and I was absolutely destitute in every area of my life. And I knew Jesus. I knew he was the answer. I knew I loved him. But up until then, I was not able to get off drugs. I would for a little while. I was sober for a year, and then slowly but surely, I got back on drugs, and I crashed out harder than I ever had. Hence, the jail. So while I was in jail, it was awful. It was a miserable place to be. You do not want to go to jail. But I would read my Bible, I'm not kidding you, for like 6, 8, 10 hours a day. I was praying constantly. I was desperate for the Lord to hear me or come near to me or comfort me. I knew that God was the only answer for this situation, but also for my life. At this point in jail, I was way beyond like, oh God, help this situation. I was so crushed, like brokenhearted, disgusted by my sin, and I understood that I broke God's heart, and I understood what sin can do to not only your life, but the people around you, and people who are just innocent bystanders in your life. And so I was praying and just seeking God like never before. I need a break.